Sam, I got to revisit something from a couple of weeks ago. We do not, and he forced one, and he threw an interception in the end zone. We do not want Patrick Mahomes or Dylan Raiola forcing balls in the red zone. All right, we've landed that. Did you know you jinxed Mahomes a couple weeks ago?
When he threw the interception.
Yeah, trying to fit it in.
You live with it, and you live with the sword, and you die by the sword a little bit.
Hey, how about?
And guess who said that on Saturday? Matt Rhule said that, related to Dylan Raiola.
Yes, he is.
He said you live with the sword, you die by the sword.
I was talking
He threw a great throw to Dane Key. So,
I was talking
Could I not die by him just not getting the ball out of bounds, though? Could we do that instead? Like, I'd prefer not to die that way.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
Like, let's get that thing like 15 yards out of bounds.
No question about it. I'm not defending that one. I actually asked about that one because I felt like that one needed to be explained because it was inexplicable if it wasn't that.
Yeah.
And then the first and the third ones, again.
First one I thought
I think
was trying to jam it in there. Second one I thought was miscommunication. Or third one I thought was miscommunication. It's the second one, and I'm like, hey, what's going on there, bud?
Yeah, the first one's a throw that and I don't know. Damon can speak better to that than I can. I think your receivers got to fight.
I don't know.
Because you play the game. I think your receivers got to fight hard on that first one a little bit, and it doesn't matter. They won the game, and they won because they were the more physical, resilient team, and by the fourth quarter, all of the blows that they had landed running the ball kind of came home. And once those things happen, you can just see another team kind of give out a little bit. And I think Maryland actually played pretty well. Their quarterback played very well for a true freshman, but they didn't have the plays at the end because I think Nebraska had set the hook early. And even though they made the mistakes, they were the more physical team at the end. The last time that Nebraska won with a -3 turnover margin was against Illinois in 2019. And that was the same deal where Nebraska dominated the game and almost lost because they, screwed around. But they eventually, they ran for like 400 yards. And eventually the more dominant team is going to surge late. And Nebraska had enough in the tank, and they made enough plays.
So, Sam, let me ask you something. I was talking to Dom after the game. He's with the wifey and Dayton, and I said, this is as a dad, this is like one of those chapters in a book, in the life book, like you want in the story.
Mm-hmm.
The triumph, kind of the getting up off the floor. It wasn't always rainbows and butterflies, and Dom looked dead at me, kind of deadpan, straight face, and he goes, "We're checking them all off, aren't we?" Like that just. I mean, how cool is that though? Where it wasn't good, right? You can hear the murmurs. He had the booing comments a couple of weeks ago, and that got taken out of context. And then there was the Mahomes talk, and he hasn't changed at all up to this point, like who he is, like the perseverance from the poster child. And I said it during the broadcast, like this was the most opportune time, if he could pull this off, for the face of the program to stand and deliver. And he absolutely did.
He did. Yeah, you have to give him a lot of credit for the way that he played in the final 2 drives of the game. I don't know what the delay of game. I rarely put that on the quarterback, and I don't think it was. But he really did a nice job late in the game. I thought he battled. I thought he played, hard and made the throws that needed to be made, bought time, took a risk, throwing to Key there. But, I mean, there's a lot of things in the game that he did well. Keeping the play alive to Lindenmeyer and throwing a touchdown there. Lindenmeyer made a great play, but you know what? That was a really good play by Dylan. And then later in the game, the Harburg thing was similar. It was a similar kind of thing, and both sides make great plays. And so Dylan's making plays. I think what you learned on Saturday, though, once again, is there's limits to how much you can rely on your quarterback to deliver in the Big Ten. And so what I thought the difference was is they came out and they ran the ball early. Their offensive line came off the ball. Emmett Johnson ran hard, to his credit. They weren't afraid to go downhill. I know they only ran it 30 times, but it felt like a greater commitment, and they stuck with it a little bit. They blocked a little bit better. They were a little tougher. I think Maryland was bothered by Nebraska's physicality, and so they got chippy at times. That's what happens sometimes when you feel like you're getting physically beaten.
Not a huge fan of that playing style. And I can see, and you're up high. Like, you can see Loxley and some of that staff trying to talk to their guys about their antics. I don't think that's anything that they can condone necessarily. But once it goes on, you have to get kind of the sense it's somewhat allowed, or they feel like they could take the liberties, right? I mean,
I think so.
Loxley talked to Taylor for about 5 or 6 minutes on the sidelines. But then about 3 series later, he put him in for Mathis.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, I think that there's situations where they got to put guys out on the field and they got to learn. I thought Maryland's reactions to a lot of stuff, it was kind of like the Lions last night. You get chippy when you get beat. And I think Maryland's defense got a little whatever because they could not actually control what was happening between the whistles as much as they wanted to. And I think they thought they were going to, and they didn't. And in some ways, that was Nebraska's best game of the season. Now, they weren't perfect. They certainly weren't perfect by any means. But in some ways, that was their best game because I'm like, okay, that's an identity you can take somewhere and win a game. Your coordinator went out and called run plays. It wasn't perfect, but, they got the ball out of Dylan's hands. So a lot of the throws were extended runs, screen passes. I felt like there's a growing comfort with we're going to be defined by an Isaiah Hunter and his physicality. I like that. I think you absolutely have to continue to use Ja'Cory Barney in as many ways as you can, but I think Hunter needs to get the ball. I think he's not only got the hot hand, but he is the guy in the Big Ten who he's the guy. Like, that's the guy that you want to get the football and break tackles and do all the things. And I think Dylan has warmed all the way up to that. And Dana has too. And so now I think you're starting to see a physicality emerge from that offense that's going to be fun to watch at the end of the season. They brought Caden Echternock in a couple of times. The run plays they used him on didn't quite work. One of those was probably Emmett's fault. Didn't quite follow the block.
You're talking about where they got beat inside with the 2 free rushers. That was tough. Like, you got to kick out the first guy, and Echternock's got to be a little flatter on his path. That's a good look by Maryland, but that execution will be better with more reps. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good look. They both slammed inside, so it was hard for Echternock on his path to get inside that kick out block.
That's true. I think Johnson could have gone a little left there, but the point is that they're starting now now they've got a third tight end and they know who he is and he's going to come in and play. And so I know the short yardage stuff is a pain. People are frustrated with it. I hear from people like, what is going on there? But I'm just telling you that I think they're getting there. Janiron Bonner's injury was a much larger deal than we appreciate. And I think they're starting to figure out those things. And now halfway through the season, I think they're developing the identity that's like, we can go to Minnesota and we can win. We can beat Northwestern this way. We can play UCLA and control the ball and keep the ball away from their quarterback. If you can do those things, there's a path to 9, 10, even 11 wins. But you got to stay on that path, and you got to beat back the distraction of whatever's going on with Rhule and Penn State.
Yeah, that's not a distraction. I'm not even lending any credence to that, Sam. We're not going to talk about that outside of after he answers his questions in the presser today. It's only a distraction if we let it be. Like, we speak that into existence. I want to say that, number one. Number two, a lot of the little subtle nuance in the run game is, when Emmett or these backs are offset by the quarterback, what Emmett is now doing is he scoots closer to the quarterback on the snap, and he gets it's almost like a direct path where he's offset, he scoots downhill, where he gives himself a two-way go. So it does two things. It not only adds to the timing of it, especially if you have pullers and duo.
Makes it more challenging fit for the
He gives himself a two-way go. It's much more downhill than it is like sweeping action of inside zone. Those little things that they keep working on lets me know that they're super cognizant of what it's going to take to be an effective run game in October and November.
That's a really good point.
You got to watch
and
it.
of course
It's pretty slick.
You can do it the other way. I know exactly what you're talking about, that he's offset more than he's to the side.
Yeah.
And there's a little bit.
He has the give. He comes close to Dylan, and he's running downhill more than he is right to left or left to right.
Mm-hmm.
He's got it down because he's really patient, and it allows for the things to happen in front of him. I like it. I like it a lot.
I do too. I thought that is the highest. That is the most rushing yards they've had against the power conference opponent since
and Maryland had been good against the run.
Colorado back in 2023, and those yards were sort of fluffy at the end. They were down by 30, but it's been a long time since they've actually run the ball that well, and they did it without a quarterback. So Dylan Raiola was not running, whereas Jeff Sims in that game was running. So I think Nebraska's, again, that was one of their better games. People may not think that because they almost lost, but that was a better game to me than Michigan State. I think Maryland's a better team, and I think Nebraska played a better game. And
I do now after this week, but
I didn't think they were going
Maryland
in.
wasn't better going in.
I didn't think they were going in. I thought Malik Washington played better than I thought he was capable of at this point.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but
I think Nebraska
I thought he was talented.
Nebraska took some of the stuffing out of Michigan State too. So Michigan State's quarterback got hammered against Nebraska.
He shouldn't have been playing.
Yeah, he was.
No.
And
now they're in a real problem because he may not want to play.
He shouldn't have been playing.
He may shut it down. No, he got pummeled against Nebraska, and then they put him back out there against UCLA. And I don't know if that's a miscommunication with the quarterback and the coach, or the quarterback demanded that he would play because he's tough. But Michigan State, what you saw, I thought, against UCLA was that they were physically banged up. And I'm not trying to overpraise Nebraska here, but they were banged up based on playing Nebraska, and their quarterback was awful. And so now, we'll see what happens going forward. Nebraska plays Minnesota on Friday. Minnesota hasn't run the ball very well, but I think they have been purposely running a pitch count on their running back.
Sam, they throw the ball 58% of the time. They're not even trying to hide it.
Magically on Friday, they're going to run the ball.
I don't know,
my prediction.
I don't know.
That's my prediction, is that all of a sudden Darius Taylor's going to be healthy and they're going to run the ball. I think they've been laying in wait. I think that they knew that they were going to be able to
almost lost to
Purdue.
Purdue. What are they waiting for?
I know. This is just my hunch, is that on Friday night, all of a sudden, you're going to see them run the ball. I don't know if they're going to be successful, but I think they're going to try. And they've been waiting for their running back to get healthy. I know they like their quarterback. Their receivers are pretty good. Their defense bends and doesn't break or whatever. It's not that good of a defense. But the Minnesota that Nebraska will see on Friday will be a pain in the butt. I'm just telling you, I think Nebraska can win the game and probably should win the game. They're a 6.5-point favorite, but that's still Minnesota, and they will come and they will today we're going to run the ball, and that's how I think it's going to happen. We'll see.
No PP tucking for me. No. I spent all off season hand wringing consternation about Minnesota, and I'm watching them play, and I'm not near as listen. I'm not saying that they can't win the game. I'm just saying Minnesota isn't who I thought they were in the preseason. Now, will they have something for Nebraska on a short week? Maybe, but they got their own issues, and I think it starts with their identity.
They do.
I'm not sure who they want Drake Lindsay to be.
Well, they don't want him to be like a dual threat, really. That's not.
It's kind of weird.
I think this is my hunch, and this is just watching pressers and reading stuff and talking to some people. I think their impression is the only way that Minnesota football is going to get to where Indiana is they actually have to start throwing the ball more, because you're not really going to get there with 20 attempts a game and I know Notre Dame did that last year, but Minnesota doesn't have Notre Dame's talent. And so, like, you have to build it a little bit more around the quarterback, and you have to be able to score. You have to score points. And there are games where Minnesota would score 9 or 8 or 12. And so I think they're trying to make that adjustment. At the same time, their running back got hurt. And he's a good running back, and I think he is going to be – we'll see. I don't know for sure. I would have thought that they would have started unleashing him against Purdue, but they didn't. And so now part of me thinks that the game on Friday is going to be about that. Guess what? Nebraska's got all the tools to stop Minnesota's offense, and they should. They have no excuses to make. I know they're a little small up front. You know, they're not 337 pounds or whatever.
And you know what's funny
so what?
is if Nebraska fits out of the second and third level, we're not talking nearly as much about the D-line. So it all goes together.
Yeah, it does. And again, they have all the tools, and they got the coordinator to do it. He's a good coordinator. He's done a nice
You talking
job.
about Butler?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
He's done a good job.
I'm not
like
blowing smoke.
He's done much better than people think he has. He's done a real nice job with that.
You know my favorite thing? Well, there's a couple, but you know my favorite thing? How he utilizes personnel within the schemes. Like he's willing to tinker and toy with packages to fit the concepts that he thinks can slow these teams down. That's development, right? If a guy's good at this, he should do this in this package. Based on the concepts, this other guy that has this skill sets, he can do like that is coaching 101. Like I don't, it's early, so I can't call him elite, but I'm just looking at the schemes and the personnel and how they lever versus like he's pretty good right now. He has exceeded any expectations, in my opinion, that I think the fan base had of him, because I don't think we really know what we're looking at when we critique him. I think we just see stats. We don't. His game within the game, I think, is fantastic. I was listening to Jess, and I get it. I have an advantage because she's on the sidelines. Nebraska was driving. They hadn't taken the lead yet, and Jess goes, she's like, guys, you've got to hear Butler. He's got the defense over here with a pass rushing package and pass defense on what's going to happen if Maryland gets the ball back. There was like 5 minutes and some change to go in the game, right? And it's just those little things that I think we can't see and we don't know that lets me know he's always prepared for what's next. You know what I mean? Like he's relentless.
He's relentless. I think he's probably, nobody's going to talk it really. He's kind of mentioned it offhand. They need to get better. I'm not going to say they need to get better players, but they need to start playing more of the young guys and the players they've recruited, and they need to continue to get better as just players.
And I think he knows that, right? Like I think
yeah.
they're far.
They need to maybe get some better players too.
They're far from a finish. That's why the whole